Thanks to David Birch for 14 months support as a channel member. Well, after surviving last year, it is time to start our first full season at FC Gifu. And to be fair to our director of football, while it's not a complete squad yet with a month of the window to go, the early signs are pretty promising. Yes, hello and welcome along to part 6 of this FM24 Head Coach story with me, Daniel. We are back today to face Ehime on the opening day of the J3 League season, but before that it's all about transfers. We've gone through the off-season, we are back at the start of March, and our director of football, with 2/3 of the window gone now, has had a very good winter in my opinion. There's still a few gaps in the squad and there's still a bit of work to be done, but key areas have been addressed and so far, offers are being rejected for star players. I'm really encouraged, whisper it quietly, by the AI's management of this transfer window. If you're looking forward to seeing what he's done so far and how we get on in the opening game of the season, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. There's also a few bits of news that will add pressure to our job this season, as remember, the board expectation is a top 4 finish. That means promotion or perhaps now playoffs, because suddenly this year, from 3rd to 6th, there's some blue slots here. And I don't really know what they are, so let's start by investigating them. If we have a look at the rules for this season, the J3 League, we get playoffs from 3rd to 6th. So maybe that explains why it's at a top 4 finish and then promotion and surviving in the J2 League. But for now, we have got to talk about the first thing of pressure. It actually relates to the league screen as well, because if we go to the season preview, we are joint favourites for the title. Now, you've got to accept as part of that, there are 6 teams that are very closely matched up there, followed by 2 teams that have been relegated. But that 8 is basically going to be fighting for it, and we are in that pack. Now, I'm not hugely shocked given some of the players that we've brought in, and you can see that we've got 3 players in the Dream 11, and 2 of them, remarkably from last season, are defenders now. That tells you the director of football has improved things. But I do want to very quickly address something else that relates to the window, which is finances, because one of the questions we asked is why there's so much money around in this league. Well, I think we found our answer, and I've looked it up and it is actually legitimate. The sharing of finances from television deals is really good in Japan, and actually a lot of the games from all 3 divisions are shown on YouTube, so a lot of teams get coverage and you also get an even sharing of the pie. And that meant at the start of pre-season here, for our TV money, we got an initial sum of 434,000, and then we got our games picked for TV or for to be shown on YouTube, whatever, and we got about 150 grand for them, and it does seem to be about right based on what I've seen online. So essentially, despite being in the 3rd tier in Japan, we've got a better TV deal than League 2 and some League 1 clubs even in England, which is remarkable. So that is the difference in the finances. When you add to that a lot of the squad players from Japan are actually on lower wages, then it does sort of explain why there's not really problems with debts and there's fairly big budgets at this level. We have a look at the finances now. There's still 15 grand of wage budget available, 620 grand of transfer budget, and that's despite the fact the director of football has already been busy. So let's not hold it up any longer. We'll go and see what he's done, and we'll start with all of the outs, including the release players. So we've got a couple of players out on both of these screens from depending on the date their contract ended. So at the end of December, we had 2 first-team players leave. Kenzai Karata was the number 10 when we started, but by the end of the season, he wasn't involved. And at 35, I'm not devastated, to be honest. The same probably applies to Tatsuya Yasuda. He was the first-choice right winger last year, but again, he's 35 years of age. He was declining physically. It made sense for him to move on, which he has. If we move on to 2024, a few more first teamers involved here. No superstars, but a few that featured. So the 3rd choice goalkeeper who ended up becoming first, he's moved on and he's going to play elsewhere at 23 years of age. We had Higino, who I think was on the bench once or twice, a centre half with 3 jumping reach. Stevia Mikuni, he came on the final day of the season, was our backup left back and played a couple of games, wasn't too bad. And Ryo Kawakami, he was that centre-half / holding midfielder on the bench, who again, pretty average, but if we want to go up this year, those players had to be improved. So they were the ones that featured regularly from our team, and a few others have gone with them as well, mostly over 30s, it must be said. But if we go and have a look at the players that have gone in and out on transfers, we've got a lot more action as well. Let's start with the outs. So, two players went at the start of January. We knew about them, and the one that stands out, of course, is Tomohiro Seko. He was the key man towards the end of last season, but at 36 again, he's declining. He's not at his best. He's actually gone to a J2 league team, and he's played 4 games without scoring a goal so far. We move on to this season. A few more have left the club as well. Most of them were either pre-agreed or backup players. So Tomo Murata was the homegrown player who had pre-agreed to leave to Imabari. He's not great, but for a homegrown sub, he was someone that was actually usable. The only other one that was close to first team level here is the latest departure, Kazuaki Takai. He was a 35-year-old striker who was about 6th choice, but he was in a first team squad and as a last resort would have been on the bench. But overall, bar Seko, who I understand the reasoning for, I'm not really devastated that any of those players have left. What I am, though, is quite excited about what's happened so far because we've got 8 players in over the window. 2 of them are youth players, 2 of them are players that were pre-agreed, and then we've got 4 others as well. But the 6 first teamers that have come in, they definitely improved the squad. There are still a couple of gaps, but one of them is not going to be right back because Adeyinka Najim was the first one that had already been pre-agreed, and he's a wonderful signing. 4.5-star ability, becomes the best player at the club alongside Park. He is a foreign player as well. We've got to be careful because we are at the limit of 4 now. He is a fabulous right back. He's only 24 years of age. He signed a 3-year deal as well. He's electric quick. He's going to get up and down the flank. He can defend. He can cross. He's got good positioning. An absolute dream of a defender by my book. So a proper solid fullback that will allow me to play a balanced, symmetrical shape defensively. Adeyinka Najim, a superstar for the season. The next one, not quite as exciting, a 20-year-old youngster for the youth team. I am finding across Japan, and it does seem to be realistic again. There's a strong reserve league, and most teams seem to have 40 or 50-man squads. So he's just part of that building, but maybe, looking at his transfer value, a profit can be made. This year, though, we've got excitement because there are 6 players in. The first one took a couple of weeks because our director of football, in fairness to him, was bidding consistently for goalkeepers and we missed out on the first few. But what I really like about this, and I guess I'm pretty well placed to talk about it given this head coach save, is that the AI is prioritising weaknesses in your squad via the squad planner, and the squad planner works really well this year. So as long as you've got that up to date, your director of football is naturally probably targeting areas you need players. So that is a big step forward from last year where you were just getting random players in. You were getting 5 left wingers, whatever. And I feel it's real progress. So far, the headline features for FM24 are delivering for me. And so is our director of football. Because Eduardo Gomez for £20,000 is our new goalkeeper. He is a 28-year-old Argentinian. Not brilliant, but very solid. And most importantly, he's a permanent player. He's not injury prone. He's not got a bad record and he's training well. And at 28 for a keeper, he's not going to decline quickly. So you can immediately see far more balanced across the goalkeeping areas. Going to have to play as a keeper rather than a sweeper because his rushing out tendency is poor. But he is fairly quick on the occasions he does need to, so can probably cover for himself. Not the best jumping reach and he's only 5'9", so I do worry a little bit about free kicks. We don't have huge problems with set pieces in Japan, but free kicks going into the corner, will he have the reach? I don't know. He's not agile enough to make up for it either. But everything else is great, and based on what we had last year, I'm quite happy with that. The next one is another very important signing. Lionel Ortiz from Lanzarote is a £32,000 centre-half, and crucially, he's only 22 years of age. Now, there is something that stands out here, which is in stark contrast to the goalkeeper we just looked at. We talked about set-piece threat in this league. The Japanese league, generally the average height, the average physicality is not the same as some of the other leagues. Well, if we can get our corner delivery right, Lionel Ortiz should score goals galore. 17 jump in reach, 6'5", determined, real quality, good in a tackle, good following his marker. His positioning and other stuff is all right as well. I mean, by this standard, he is a very good central defender and better than any we had at the club last year. So again, with Tanabe's loan finishing and then with Makuni being released, we needed someone of quality. And this is beyond what I expected. Again on a 3-year deal, again a younger player. The director of football's not just improving the squad, He's actually signing people now that are going to make the club a profit, which is another important step as well. So really, really thrilled with that deal. Well done, Director of Football. Next one, not as exciting. Koen Yanaha. He is another one for the B team. He will never step foot on the pitch for us, I don't think. The next one was the pre-agreed centre-half, Takumu Kenmotso. Again, probably an upgrade on what we had last year. Only 23 years of age, and again, 6'2", good jumping reach, good positioning, which regulars know I love in a centre-half. And he's also got bundles of potential, so if he can start the season well, if he does feature a bit, and if he does train better than he is at the moment, we might well have a bit of a gem on our hands. He has had an injury for most of pre-season, but once we get him up to speed, I feel he could add natural balance as a left footer, and he could add some real quality for the future. So another one I'm very happy with. The final real first team addition is Nathaniel Ishii. He came in for 10 grand last month, and I'm actually quite impressed with his signing because it's a versatile one that covers areas where we've not got a backup in the squad. So he can play right of midfield, left of midfield, he can cover up front, can cover number 10, and he's just a solid young player again with potential. Now, one of the things I talked about in the end of season review is that I wanted the squad to be brought down in terms of average age, and it does appear that's happened. Another young player coming in who can bolster the squad will be a good backup for Kubota on the right. We might have a bit more of an issue on the left because Seko's not really been replaced, but Ishii is going to be a decent footballer for this team, and for the long term, probably will end up being a good one. The final one is another left midfielder, sort of halfway between one for now and one for the future. 19-year-old Toya Morgan is a free agent. He's not listed as a first teamer, but he is someone who's got enough potential to do it. 2-star ability, 4-star potential, a decent natural winger if we're being honest, but maybe not going to be a regular now. Could pop up on the bench every now and then though. So a very good window so far. Still got that bit of work to do, maybe to replace Seko, but defensively, he's given me a base that I didn't expect to have. And he's still going for one more as well, because if we have a look at the loan market here, he's just tried to get a right back from Stuttgart, which he's missed out on. But he's also going for Cantor Doi as a centre-half option. Now, he is another very good defender. Not the best jumping reach, but I'm looking at a holding midfielder. I'm looking at someone who could be involved in the squad. And again, he's bringing down the average age and bringing in decent players. He deserves massive credit. So I think you can gather that I'm pretty encouraged by what's been happening so far. However, we do have more good news when it comes to the squad because some of the players that were out of contracts at the end of last year did get those late offers in the end. I was watching them and there were a few that I was umming and ahhing about and a few that I wasn't sure on, so the likes of Ichikawa, but maybe he's thinking, well, I'm only going to be able to get these 6 or 7 players in. Let's keep a couple of cheap backup players that are professional and can do the job. And the people that he's kept generally are the ones with better personalities, which is also pretty impressive. But looking at the key ones who are going to be out of contract, Ugajin signed a new deal. That means we've got a left back still. Going further down, the 2 strikers, Fujioka and Akita, and also Charles and Nduka as well. Most of them have signed 2-year deals, but even the ones that haven't, we've got here for the season. After we lost Murata on a free as well, I've also promoted the best homegrown at the club player, who is a 2-star striker who can't finish or jump, so we probably won't see him come on that often. And the other one signed a new deal was the backup goalkeeper. He does stay here for another season. So that's where we are at the minute. I think we've improved massively, if I'm being completely honest with you, and I'm hoping that that extra defensive strength will allow us to push on a bit more in certain games. The best way to find out, though, is by heading into the new season, and of course we'll see how well we deal with our opposition. We'll have a look to see where they're expected to finish as well. Very quickly, we did get a couple of comments about the youth intake. Now, it actually came really late last season. There was a glitch known in the game for the beta for the first season, which it still came and it was all right. But it was just a bit later, which is why I couldn't show it in the episodes. There wasn't really any talent from it. The best players weren't as good as the youth players being signed on deadline day. And I think the best one that we had in was sort of this level with 3-star potential and 1 grade out star. So I'm not sure that we're going to see any of them reach the first team. However, some of the players that were signed in the summer transfer window and on the deadline day there are really developing. So 2 of the young defenders are already 2-star ability with 5-star potential. And as the season goes on, if we need substitutes or we have an injury crisis, I might try and promote them a little bit. Let's go and get into our first game of the year though. We are playing Ehime on the opening day. Where are they expected to finish? Because that will give us an indicator. Right, they're 4 favourites for the title. They are up there with us, and if we find out how good we are in comparison to them, I think we'll get an indicator for this season. It looks like some of the players they've brought in are now amongst their first 11, so they've definitely improved their squad as well. But let's go and get through the tactical meeting, get our best 11 picked, and we'll be back in a minute to run through our team for the opening day of the season. Well, I think in fairness to him, this is probably where you see the work of our director of football a bit more, because defensively, we are massively improved on last season, but also the depth on the bench is a bit better than it was. So you look at Fujitani and Kita, they were both regular starters at the end of last season. They're on the bench here now. Kusamoto is finally on the bench as an actual striker rather than as a defender. Kenmotso and Ishii, the 2 new signings, are also there for added depth. We've got a good balanced substitute bench, albeit with no goalkeeper, which is a worry. The team, though, is pretty strong. We've got Gomez in goal for the first time. Najim, the new right back, with Ugajin returning from injury on the left. Endo is in alongside Ortiz. It probably will eventually be Kenmotso, but due to his pre-season injury, I'm going for the person who's match fit. I feel that's important at the minute. And also, if we do get an injury during the game, Endo can move out the left back, which does make adapting a little less difficult for us. Kubota is in on the right. Sumi and Park continue in the middle. Fujioka is the main change this year. He's moved out to the left to cover Seko's position. And we've finally got both of those target men fit. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to work in less than premium roles, but we've seen them both perform as a target man towards the end of last year. It's also given us a lot of brutality. They're both 6 foot. Ortiz is 6'5". Najim at fullback is 6'1" as well. We've got a real threat from set pieces and real aerial reach in this team, which I'm hoping will lead us to good things this season. So this 11, I've got a lot of promise for. I do feel we're going to need 1 or 2 more additions just to bolster the depth more than anything. But given where we were at the start of the summer and what I've dreaded from previous editions of the head coach, I'm encouraged so far. Let's go and get into the opening day, see if that changes in the first 90 minutes. Here we go then. We start the season with what the bookies think is one of the trickiest away games we'll face. Are we going to be able to get a result? Are we going to be able to pick up where we finished most of last season? Remember, we scored 2 goals in the last 3 minutes on the final day. Can we start this season in similar vein? I'm going to very quickly check that all the penalty takers and that are set up correctly, and then we'll be back in a moment for our first half highlights. Well, it's a 4-4-2 for our host today as well, so it really is a battle of the players. And the first quarter of the game, well, it's been pretty quiet. There's not been any highlights. I think we've had 1 shot on target, and that's been it. And here is Yada down the left as the host look to get into it. And Duka works back really well, wins it for Ortiz. And here is Endo into Park. We've got better footballers at the back, which will also help too, as Akita goes back to Sumi in that playmaker role. Up to Park, he finds Ugajin. Not quite fit, but he works it down the left to Akita. Got options inside of him. Here is Park, the magic man. What can he do? Goes for the shot. Just over the bar. Good football. We're playing it. We're keeping it well. I'm hoping this year we can control the ball. We've got Najim injured with bruised ribs, but shouldn't be one that gets much worse. So we'll keep him on for now. We'll see how he does. But Fujitani, last year's first choice, is there if we need him. Well, it looks like it's going to be 0-0 at half-time. It's been a fairly tight game, albeit we've just about had more of the stats. Not much of the possession, though. What I do like about this, though, is if this is one of our trickiest away games of the year, it does show that we've got credentials because we've not been under much threat and we've had an attacking threat ourselves. Hopefully in the second half we can increase that. Go and get into it and find out. Well, a couple of minutes gone in the second half and our hosts have a free kick. This would be devastating if we threw it from here. Not sure why we've got a 3-man wall there. Oh, it's a great routine. That's class. Fair play. Nice to see a proper free kick routine in FM, which has actually outweighed my disappointment at the goal. Not sure why we've got 3 in the wall, but otherwise I'm pretty happy with that. It's a very good move. It's something that's going to do you eventually. And to be 1-0 down against one of our title rivals, maybe we shouldn't be that disappointed. It has been an even game. But it's not a good sign for the season, and we've got to keep that morale up. So we can nick a draw, it would be ideal, as they're playing it in the middle, but we've nicked it with Nduka. Park finds Akita. Has support, both running inside though. Ugajin's on the outside. It's a good ball from Akita. Oh, Nduka's up. How has it not gone in? It hit the bar, it hit the post, it hit the goal line, and it somehow didn't go over. I was already celebrating the goal, I've got to be honest with you. You're not going to get much closer than that without scoring. It's a lovely animation off the post, but disappointment for us. We're going to have to replace our right-hand side because we've got Fujitani coming on for an injured Najim, who is now hampered by his injury. On the right of midfield, Kubota's just back to fitness. He's not fully in great form at the minute, so Ishii will come on there. And then I'm going to bring on Kita for Sumi, who's not had a great game and isn't fully fit either. We might push him up to a support duty. Maybe we'll leave him as that. I think we're okay at the minute. We're going to go with that for the last half an hour. We have been competitive in this game. And away at a top side, we've got to be thrilled with it. But now we've got the dreaded highlight while a change is pending. Is it going to mean a goal? Ortiz clears away. Good defending. Only as far as Nakamachi though. Into the box. He's taking it inside. Oh, it's the curse. The superstition has struck again. The superstition has well and truly struck again. 2-0. Why make changes when there's a highlight? It always leads to a goal. 25 minutes to go. I don't really know how we're 2-0 down here because we've actually played all right. Let's go and make a final 2 changes. We might as well now get Kenmotso some football. We'll also bring on Kusamoto for, I want to say Nduka. Fujioka's struggling a bit, but I don't know if any of the others can play off the left. Yes, Akita can. Nduka, yes, he can as well. We'll go for Akita off the left-hand side, and Nduka will play as the target man. And then we'll have Kusamoto continuing to develop up front. 15 minutes of the game to go. It's been a decent performance. It shouldn't be 2-0. They've scored a great free kick routine. And then they've scored another very decent goal. But hopefully as the season goes on, we'll improve. We've got a month for the transfer window too. Should have 3 or 4 more coming in as Park finds Akita. Wide to Ugajin. We've seen late comebacks from this team before. What can we do today? Akita gets it. Back to Kita, to Kenmotsu. Into Ugajin at left back. Probably an area we're still struggling for depth. Park picks it up in midfield for Kita. It's good football, but where's it going? Ugajin again. They're pressing us really well. They're forcing us backwards in midfield. And we're just watching a triangle pass here. This is pointless. Is it going to lead to something? Here is Park. Out to Akita. Through to Nduka. Park gets it up to Kusamoto. Got to score. Oh, why did he take it so early? Had the pace to get in, but just panicked. As a result, it's 2-0. It's an even game, but unfortunately, we've come out on the wrong side. Though, hang on a minute. 90th minute corner. In at the front post, Akita. Not sure where the big centre-half is there. He should be making that run. With 4 minutes added on, we are going to fall to defeat, I think. A few things to learn and maybe a bit more work to do on set pieces with these new players, but overall the performance isn't bad. We've competed with one of the best sides on the road. And I just hope that we can learn quickly, because otherwise we're going to have a long old season and a disappointing one. As in they come again. 3 would be very harsh. They get down the left. Ortiz, no. I mean, there's a couple of things there. Firstly, I'm not sure it was in the box. Secondly, I'm not sure it was a foul. And they're going to win this 3-0 now. If ever a scoreline didn't reflect a game, it's not been our day, has it? It's not been the start to the season. Yes, we've still got a few players that aren't match fit. Yes, we've lost one of our stars from injury today. But that's going to happen during the season. We've got to find a result. The biggest worry I have with some of those goals as well. The 5'9" goalkeeper not rated well. Is it a case of FM not allowing a Fabian Barthez? Because if you're short, you just have to be a bad goalkeeper here. I don't know. Let's go and have a look at the schedule for when we're going to be back. But worrying signs early on. Nakeem is back next week. That's not a problem. We've got a League Cup tie against a top tier side, which is going to be problematic. I will rest people for that. But then we've got a lower league side in the All Japan Cup, so maybe that'll work out later on. For now, though, we are going to come back for transfer deadline day and Nagano at home. That is at the end of March, and we'll get a full idea of what our squad is going to look like for the first half of the season. So far, I'm still pretty encouraged. It was a disappointing day, very annoying defeat, but I'll do a bit of work on set pieces and we'll iron that stuff out. If you enjoyed this episode, though, and are looking forward to the new season, please do put a thumbs up on the video. Let me know in the comments what you thought of our Director of Football's transfer window so far, and that very strange even game that we managed to lose 3-0. If you want to stay up to date with the season and see if we can bounce back, then subscribe and turn that notification bell on. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time with deadline day and another big game from the J3 League. But before that, we will be back with Southend tomorrow morning. You can find that playlist up in the eye above. Been a very interesting first season there. And you can also find links to the Twitch channel where we're live virtually every day, as well as the football podcast with Premier League and Championship predictions. You can find a link to order FM24 down in the description. All of the socials and that stuff is there as well. But thank you very much for joining me for a new season. It looks encouraging off the pitch, but on it, we've got some work to do.